So here I have a few interview questions where I just figured instead of going one by one, I'll literally answer each of them in one video. So the first question I was asked, how did you get started in the music studio engineering industry? What inspired you to pursue this career path? Do you know what? How did I get into it? I mean, I kind of fell into it, to be honest. I left school. I liked DJing. I liked producing. I loved, DJ and producing comes hand in hand. What I didn't kind of look at too much when I was 16, 17 was the whole engineering aspect of it. I just wanted to be, at that age, I wanted to be a producer, I wanted to be a DJ, I wanted to be on stage, I wanted to go out performing, all things like that. As I got a little bit older, 17, 18, 19, I started basically mixing friends' music. I started getting a few kind of gigs and stuff like that, mixing other people's songs. And then I really found I was a lot better at mixing other people's music than I was at making my own music. And I found it a lot more fun rather than mixing my own. And I just kind of carried on like that. I just literally then just started mixing one after the other. I'd mix a lot of tracks for free for people when I was young, just because I wanted to gain lots and lots of experience. And it was, it's fun. It's fun to do. And yeah, that is basically where I started, and then I just gradually just picked up more and more work, and then I worked in a few studios, and then I started Audio Animals in 2012, like, what's that, 11 years ago now, getting on 12 years. Yeah, so that is how I kind of got started. Right, next question is, what steps did you take to build your initial client base when starting out? And how has your client base evolved over time? The steps I took to build the client base. Now, what I basically did when we started this company was we had, because we literally started the company and we started fresh from the ground up. We didn't have any clients. We bought a few over from other jobs we were doing prior to it, who kind of directly work with us. So we had to build a client base from the ground up. And there was times when, you'd have a higher profile artist, and you'd kind of offer your services at a very discounted rate, because then what you could do was you could put them onto your client list. And, still to this day, there's few people, if they're a big name, you can look at it in a way of like, okay, yeah, I can do that track, or I can do this album for you at a slightly discounted rate, because what I'm getting back is I'm getting your name put on my client list, which then ultimately builds that client list even bigger. And how has your client list evolved over time? You've only got to go and look. I'll put a link in the description to the client list. But how has it evolved over time? Blimey. Like, for instance, when we first started, let's say in 2013, by 2013, we had worked with, I think we'd worked with Lil Wayne by that time. We worked on a track maybe with Flow Rider on it at that time. So these were these guys were relatively big back 10 years ago. We'd done Spider-Man 2. And they were kind of like, yeah, those three were kind of the big projects of the time. How has it evolved over time? I mean, it's now ridiculous. I've got like, we did Beyonce's concert over in Dubai recently. Avatar, we did some of the trailers for that, and some of the music I think that went into the movie. I can't confirm any of that, because actually the problem you got with these sorts of jobs is you get told a very small portion of what the work is that you do. You would physically have to go and search through 1,000 different tracks that you've worked on for these film companies, and then go and actually listen to the movie and kind of go, is that it? Sounds a lot like that one. Yeah, it's very similar to the other one. It's very difficult to find out. So it's very hard to know what you actually did in a movie, unless you're physically told. All we get told is, yeah, it's in there. Okay, right, wicked. Or we get told about the trailer. Like, for instance, Frozen 2, I believe, that was the trailer that we'd done on that, and that got confirmed as, yeah, that's the track. And we went and actually listened to that, and like, yeah, there's the track in the trailer. Brilliant. So yeah, I mean, it's gone on to, you know, mad, crazy levels of kind of work that we've done in terms of client base. And that's something that builds over time, you know, and it will build, and it's something that gradually builds, and it doesn't happen overnight. Trust me, it really doesn't. But one thing I will say is, off of the back of Spider-Man, we got X-Men, then we got the sequel to X-Men, and then it just kind of snowballed after that. Yeah, and then it just went on and on and on, and I think now we've done probably about 60 major Hollywood movies, like big time Hollywood movies. Brilliant. It's a big passion of mine doing the movie stuff. So next question: how do you differentiate yourself from other music studio engineers in the industry, and what unique valuable things do you bring to your clients? How do we differentiate yourself? We're very fair, we're very honest, we're very, you know, we help our clients. We have a very high-end service. That's what we always do, is we have a very affordable base rate, and we make sure that a base rate can be afforded by everybody, and then you can add lots and lots of bits on. Like, you can come in and you can spend 40-50 pound on a master if you don't require it back on the same day or within 5 days. If you want to wait a little while, you don't have to pay the extra to get it back early. So we make sure that there's this kind of bracket for people who don't want to spend a lot. So we make things affordable for people. And if you don't need the instrumental masters, you don't need the a cappella masters, you don't need the Apple Digital Master, it's 40-50 pound. It's only when you want to add £20 for the Apple Digital Master, you want to get the vinyl master, add another 10. That's when you start stacking it up to £100, or you want to go with stem mastering. It starts to then go from 60 to £100, you know, depending on the stem count. So it's, for me, it was always a case of, I knew my own roots, and I knew what me putting myself in the shoes of the client. You know, you can spend a load of money, but I found you've always got to have something that's an affordable rate for people who don't want to spend and don't have big budgets for songs. Because you've got to realise that some people, they're doing this as a hobby. You know, they haven't got a team of A&R, they haven't got promotion going on with their songs. So it's a case of, they might not even make £40 back on their tracks. You know, some people don't. Most people will put a song out and they'll make good money out of it, or they'll have a DJ sideline where they've then, you know, that's where their major income's coming from. So what strategies have you used to sustain your business over the long term, and what have been some of the biggest challenges you faced? You know what? To sustain your business, things like this, you know, talking to clients, talking to people who, you know, a fan base, talking to people, taking time out to record videos, doing all this sort of stuff. It does help sustain the business. Advertising helps sustain the business. This is what all this is. It's me, by standing here on camera doing this video, it's advertising the studio behind me, the brand across my chest, the brand on my arm. It's all advertising at the end of the day, and I'm quite open and honest about that. The reason I do all these videos isn't for the monetization, because that's peanuts. It's for the fact that people watch these videos, they find out about me, and they want to work with me. And that has been, as of late, very, very, very beneficial for us. Advertising's always been brilliant. I'm sure many of you will have, if you ever go on Instagram or Facebook, you'll have probably seen adverts that we have. What's been the biggest challenge though? There hasn't been massive amounts of challenges. You will always face challenges as a kind of mastering engineer. You'll always face challenges. We always thought there was going to be this challenge from AI mastering when that kind of came about, and Lander came about, and it was like, oh God, this could essentially make our jobs redundant. Thankfully, AI mastering's terrible, and it doesn't come anywhere close to a human ear, which is great. But you know, one day that might not be the case. I hope it's not. I do hope that everybody still wants a human ear, because the thing is every song's different. Every song needs to be treated differently, and you need to approach each song in a very unique way. It's not a case of having a computer guess how things are meant to be done, because there's zero creativity in that sort of aspect, and it shows. It's not a great master that comes out. And I'm not just saying that just because I want people to come to us rather than use AI mastering. AI mastering isn't good. You've only got to use something like Ozone and click AI on that and know, okay, this is, you know, pretty poor, but it kind of gets me slightly there. Cool for demos, but for a professional release, yeah, you'll get a far better result doing it yourself with stock plugins, to be honest. Right. What role has networking played in building and maintaining your client base, and what tips do you have for others looking to develop their own networks? Networking's brilliant. Not necessarily networking out of the studio. This is networking. Just doing a video like this, answering these questions, replying to emails, having conversations, building relationships with people who are like-minded people. That's all networking. You know, you don't actually have to go to networking events. You know, most of us studio guys, we like to lock ourselves away in studios and be alone and work on music. And, you know, most producers will sit alone and produce music because it's just the way we are. So you might not want to go out networking. It's like Nick doesn't like doing these sorts of videos. I'm quite open to them. I like discussing things. I like the kind of I like what I get back from them. I get a lot of praise back from people who watch them, and they find these videos really entertaining and helpful and all that sort of stuff. So I like networking like that, and I feel like these sorts of videos, they're really beneficial because the networking that I'm doing here, it talks to people. Although I'm not actually sitting there talking to you directly, you're sitting there listening to what I've got to say, and I've got a lot to say and a lot of valuable information. That's why people ask me lots and lots of questions. So networking is very important. Next question: how do you approach pricing and billing for your services, and what factors do you consider when setting rates? The main factor that I consider is time taken. So for instance, usually a master will take from start to finish an hour. So I always think of, right, okay, you know, an hourly rate. Let's say I'm thinking of an hourly rate. A master's going to take an hour, so you charge X amount, what you want for your hourly rate, right? Okay, we've got to do the Apple Digital Master. That takes, let's say, another 20 minutes, so we'll charge another £20. Things like that. So as it takes more time to do a certain service, you kind of price it correctly so that it's fair for the client. It's always got to be fair for the client. And things like I've got an Avid S4 behind me. Now this allows me to mix 10 times quicker, but do I charge 10 times more? No. I save the client money by the fact that I'm far quicker than someone on a mouse and a keyboard. And that's something that's an investment into getting the time it takes to perform a mix down that I can ultimately pass on to the client. And that's a really good way to work. Next question is, what advice do you have for aspiring music studio engineers who are just starting out And what qualities do you think are essential for success in this field? What advice do I have for aspiring music studio engineers? Right, the one piece of quick, simple advice is put yourself out there. Don't be shy to put yourself out there. You know, if you're a good engineer, you've got a lot to say and you've got a lot of people that will want to listen to you. So do these sorts of videos, talk about, you know, post lots of pictures online of your studio. It's not showing off, it's promoting you as a business. Now, always think about yourself as a business. Post a picture of your new gear. People are interested. If they're interested in working with you, they're interested in seeing what new equipment you've got. And ultimately, all that sort of thing, it's advertising. You are advertising to your potential clients, saying, "Oh yeah, I got this new piece of kit," and they go, "Oh yeah." Like for instance, I put a HG2 in, a black box HG2 in. The amount of people that when I put that in contacted me, "Yeah, I want to get the track mastered. I want to hear what it sounds like run through that HG2. I love the plugin. I want to hear it through that." Same with when we put the Unfairchild in Nick's studio. So many people got in touch with, "Yeah, I want my track mastered through the Unfairchild." It's like, yeah, cool. So that's one thing I would recommend is, like, you know, post a lot about what you're doing. Don't ever think that you're posting too much. I mean, there obviously is too much. You can do too much posting. Like if you're posting 10 pictures a day, it gets a bit ridiculous and people are going to switch off from that sort of stuff. But if you're posting one picture a day, for instance, you know, that's a nice amount of pictures to just post out, and people are generally interested in. So yeah, if I had one kind of tip for aspiring music producers, like music engineers or whatever, I would say put yourself out there, get your face in front of as many clients as possible, and that will bring you, you know, as long as you've got a lot to show and a lot to say and it's good information, people will listen and you'll convert those people into clients. How have you adapted to changes in technology and the music industry over time, and what steps do you take to stay current with new developments? What steps do I take? I literally watch every single product that comes out. I get it, majority of the time I get them on reviews. I try everything out, and I work out whether it's bringing something to the table. For instance, the MBT, I got one of them in the day it released, and I was like, yeah, this thing brings something huge to the table. I'm going to get one. So you always need to adapt and change. This industry as a whole, it does change. New things come out. For instance, the other couple of weeks ago, Ozone 11 came out, and there's a great new feature in it where you can split the tracks into vocal, drums and bass, and by splitting these into those three parts, you can apply EQ to drums, EQ to vocal, EQ to bass, independent of a stereo mix. So it's almost like splitting the track into stems, and it works incredibly well. And this is an advancement in the digital world that you have to stay on top of. And if you're not staying on top of that, what you're then doing is you're falling behind, because you haven't got the latest, greatest tools. And Ozone 11 is very, very good. So there are developments in that regards, and you know, keep an eye on things like that are kind of forward thinking. Stay up to date with what is actually going on in the industry. You know, look at other people's services. If there's someone else who's doing a mastering service, go have a look at their mastering service, because you might look at it and go, oh, he's offering that. Why aren't I offering that? You know, things like that. You can always benefit from looking at other people's stuff. Don't copy them, of course. Make it your own, but it might be something where you just look at it and go, I didn't even think about offering stem mastering. I've just been doing stereo mastering all this time. They're offering stem mastering. Why don't I do that as well? So yeah, there's all little things like that, I guess. Next question is, what are some of the most important skills and traits that you think are necessary for success as a music studio engineer, and how have you developed these qualities over time? Now, this one I'll answer from a business perspective. rather than as an audio engineer perspective. When you get into, like, the thing is, when I first started this business, I was very much an audio engineer that was going into running a company. Now I'm very much a businessman and an audio engineer running a company. Over the past 10 years, 11 years, I've become a businessman. I've my thought process has changed. I've grown up as a person. 10 years is a long time. And it's an important skill to have. And I guess with the skills and traits, a trait that you should try and get is that you love work. And if you love work, you will not stop working, and you get this drive to work and succeed. So that's one trait that I would say is necessary. But yeah, thinking of yourself, working as a businessman as well as an audio engineer, like there's things that you do from a business perspective and good business moves, learning about business as well as learning about how to mix, how to master, and being a good engineer. You also, if you're running a studio, you need to understand business, how to get clients, how to kind of show your brand off in the best way possible. So that's one quality that I've developed over time, and that's one that I've had to really work hard to learn a lot about, because I didn't go to business school or anything like that. I wish I'd had, but I've probably learned more in the past 10 years than anyone would have learned in sort of business school. There's no better experience than hands-on experience of running your own company. You'll make mistakes, you'll make a lot of mistakes, but you'll also learn from those mistakes. And ultimately, it's good to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. If you don't learn from them, there is a mistake. If you learn from your mistake, it becomes a positive. Okay, so last question is, what are some of the most rewarding and challenging aspects of your work? And how do you stay motivated to continue to pursuing your career in music studio engineering? Now, I'll tell you now, one of the most rewarding things, and this is one that I love, is when I mix a full song, for instance, seeing your name in the credits for a movie. I remember the first time I saw my name in the Spider-Man DVD credits, and it was an incredible feeling, because this was a huge Hollywood movie. Like, it was one of the biggest grossing at the time, and my name was in the credits, and that was amazing. And that drives you to want to do more. Another one with regards to films, I've just finished a film this morning, actually. I sent the masters off and the Atmos files off to be turned into the film, and we're going to the film premiere later this week, and I'm taking my wife we're going off to the film premiere, down the red carpet, all that sort of stuff. It's lovely. Those sorts of things are highly rewarding. One of the most rewarding things, and I'll tell you now, one of the most rewarding things, and this isn't necessarily about as an engineer, more about doing these sorts of videos, is when I go to events and I see people, and people recognize me because they obviously watch these videos, and I basically look exactly the same as I do now when I go to any sort of event. It's not like I put on a suit or anything. I literally wear this because, it's just the way I am. And people, come up, recognize me, and it's lovely. It really is. It's so nice when people say, how much these videos have helped them. I've helped them buy the right equipment, and they're thankful. Those sorts of things are highly rewarding. Even just the comments that I get in videos where people, they're really thankful. And these videos take time out of my day. Ultimately, they are to promote the business. They're promoting the brand. They're promoting me, but they are valuable information that I'm sharing. I don't have to share it. I just know the benefits it has on my company to share this information. So I'm happy to share it, and people are happy to listen. And a rewarding thing about that is when people say thank you, and they are massively kind of gracious of the fact that I've shared this information and saved them a few quid on buying the right piece of equipment. And I always reply to people and I talk to people, and those things go a long way, because there's a lot of people who do these sorts of videos, and I look at the comments, and I read some of the comments that are on other people's videos, and the person who's uploaded the video, they rarely comment back and say anything, and if they do, it's not having a discussion. It's like almost like a copy paste type of answer. And I don't like to do that. I'm a very real person when it comes to this sort of thing. I'm more than happy to take an hour out of my day to reply to comments and have conversations. I don't think there's any excuse not to. If you have a phone, you always have time to just get on YouTube, look at the comments, and just go and type a reply. Yeah, those sorts of things are highly motivational for me. Look, I love running this business because it's very, very successful. And by having a successful business, I can have lots and lots of, I can build my perfect studio. Like, we got to a position where it was like, here's X amount of money, you can build whatever you want, and build your perfect studio. Now, how could anyone, like, if I said that to any engineer, their eyes would light up. You'd build a lovely studio, perfect, exactly as you want it. And it's a very fortunate situation to be in. And that massively motivates me. The fact that I've worked really hard to be able to put something like this together, that sort of thing motivates me. So yeah, that's the last question. And yeah, good stuff if you got this far and watched all the way through. Yeah, interesting questions. That gives you a little bit of an insight into me, I guess. Yeah, thanks for watching.